Welcome back. We're tracking new developments in the Texas redistricting standoff that's resulted in dozens of Democratic state House members fleeing the state to block new congressional maps pushed by President Trump. The state's Republican leaders announced plans to adjourn the current special session and start a new one on Friday, resetting the clock as they wait for Democrats to return to the state. Republican Governor Greg Abbott says he will call as many special sessions as it takes to compel Democrats to return. For their part, Texas Democrats are claiming victory, saying that Abbott chickened out. Texas Democratic leader Gene Wu said in a statement today, in keeping with our original promise to Texans, the first called special session will never make quorum again. In a social media post, Texas Democrats say they are assessing their strategies and holding meetings to make decisions about their plans going forward. And joining me now to talk more about this is the aforementioned chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus, State Representative Gene Wu. Gene, thank you so much for joining us. You claimed victory after Republican leadership in Texas said that they're going to adjourn, though they may call it just another special session on Friday. There are reports that Democrats who fled the state are considering coming back soon. Clarify this for us. Are you planning on returning to Texas soon? And tell us what's going on in these meetings.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And, from the very beginning, from the first time I was on MSNBC talking about this, we've said that we have two goals in mind. Our first goal was to kill this corrupt special session and hopefully give the Republican leaders a chance after public input to not make the next special session just as corrupt as they made the first. And there's always hope for that. The second thing is, we wanted to light a fire. We wanted to light a fire across the nation, warning all other states, all other good Americans, what is in store for them, what the danger is for them, and how the people trying to lie and cheat and steal their way into power, to remain in power, are going to destroy their lives, destroy any ability for us to try to get this country on the right track.
Okay, I understand all of that, but that's not an answer to my question about what you do next. Are you planning to return to the state when this next session comes up, or are you going to continue to stay out of the state for as long as possible?
Look, again, our memberships, our commitment was only to kill this corrupt special session. What we will do, what we're going to do in the future, we're in discussions right now. Unfortunately, we do not discuss what we discuss.
Okay, so that's, I think, a bit of news that you had only committed to that first session. I do want to talk to you a bit about how your Senate colleagues are responding to this. The Texas Senate approved the House maps after some of your Senate colleagues broke and actually did come to quorum. This is what they told the Texas Tribune in a statement. They said that legislators cannot stay away forever, and the governor will call as many special sessions as needed to prevail. They argue that your greatest hope is in the courthouse, and the sooner we get there, the better. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you believe the only way possible to prevent these maps from actually becoming a reality is winning in court?
No. I think going to court is one of our strategies, and it is still one of our strategies, but we have many other strategies to deal with this. And obviously, we're not going to tell Republicans, we're not going to tell Governor Abbott what those strategies are. We're not going to show our hand too early. But look, we have committed to fighting this fight. And we know that the governor holds all the cards. The Republicans have been in control of this state for the past 30 years. Everything that is wrong with our state falls on their shoulders, including what's wrong with this corrupt special session. And they have the power, and only they have the power to stop their own corruption. And we're always hopeful that the American people will have their say and that our leaders in the state house will actually listen to them. And if they don't, we will come right back and saying, we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to make sure that that the public knows what you're doing.
Okay, I do think, though, that you might be moving the goalposts a bit here, right? The rhetoric that was coming from you and many of your colleagues initially was that you were willing to hold out for as long as possible. Now you're saying that it was just this one session that you were hoping to stop. What is the long-term goal here? I understand the optics that you want the rest of the American public to understand what's happening here in Texas, but there are other real issues that you have to deal with. You have this disaster relief funding that needs to be addressed. There's a long other list of issues that need to be addressed. How long can you prolong this situation before coming to a definitive decision as to what you do next?
No, you want to say that, but like I've said from the very beginning, from the first time I was on TV talking about this, is that our commitment was to kill this first corrupt special session. And nothing that has ever changed. And we have said over and over again that we understand that the governor might call this and make us do this again and again. But at some point, we will have to help make sure that Texans are assisted, that families get the help they need, the communities that got hit by the flooding get the help they need, that the $50 billion of unmet disaster preparations are done before the hurricane season starts and all the stuff starts rolling along. We have a commitment to take care of other things. We can fight this fight for as long as we can do it. But we have other strategies, other methods of fighting it. It does not have to be just a quorum break. It does not have to be just one thing or the other. We can throw everything at this. And, in the meantime, I hope that the American people, the people in Texas, wake up to this and start joining us and start fighting back on it.
Can you just give me one example of something you can do other than a quorum break? You keep saying that there are other things that you can do. What else can you do? Can you sit out? Can you break committee meetings? For people that aren't familiar with the Texas legislative process, what other tangible option do you have at your disposal to prevent this from happening?
So look, the most basic ways are, one, we can fight this in the courts, that we think that even the 5 that they're drawing, much less the 9 or 10 that Governor Abbott is threatening, the 5 is already grossly unconstitutional, grossly illegal, because it is so racially based and so illegal. And there's ways to fight this in the legislative process, whether that is with amendments, whether that is with procedural moves, whether that there's any number of things that we can and will do. There's also ways to fight this in the public sphere. And the most important thing, the most important way that we fight this is something that's still going on right now. If you look at California, your previous segment just went straight into this. Right? Look at California. Look what has happened in California. California would not have happened but for Texas House Democrats, right? New York is looking at this, and New York is hard. We get that. But the fact that they're looking at this and considering putting in their own trigger bill is a victory. Illinois is looking at it, and many other states, Michigan, you go up and down the line. Blue states that were happy to just sit on their hands and say, hey, we're protected, we're fine, are now saying, okay, if they're going to fight, we're going to fight.
Yeah, but I think if you watch that segment, the other part of it that we pointed out is that if you're really planning on getting into a redistricting arms race, that this may not be a race that Democrats can keep up with, that Republicans have looser laws in many of their states that make it easier for them to redistrict, and there's just more places where Republicans can redistrict. Aren't you concerned that this could spiral out of control and that Republicans are willing to go further than Democrats are even able to go?
And yeah, that's absolutely possible. But I want to be very clear about what is actually happening out there. This is not a tit for tat. This is not a, both sides do this thing. Everywhere around the nation where Democrats are in charge, they have attempted to put in nonpartisan commissions that fairly redraw the maps. And then that is not the equivalent of Republicans intentionally using illegal, unconstitutional racial gerrymandering to do the same thing on their side. Those are not equivalents. And right now, Texas is actively trying to cheat in the midterms, all right, in the mid-decade redistricting. California is putting in a trigger bill that only goes into effect if Texas tries to cheat. Those are not equivalents. And I really wish people would stop saying that they're equivalents, because one is a defensive measure, one is an aggressive, unprovoked measure.
Okay, before I let you go, just one last time. You have not decided whether or not you'll return to the state if Governor Abbott were to just call another session immediately.
We are still in discussions, and this is something that we're not going to do unless we have consensus among our membership.
Okay, State Representative Gene Wu, we covered a lot. Sir, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.